that has debit cards. That is a big no-no. That is spending money. A debit card is actually
I agree with
spending
you.
money
I agree.
without board approval.
Yep. I was trying to be helpful, I wanted to make sure you had all the basic
Yeah,
stuff.
and it has to be, it's two separate offices within the town. And
Gotcha.
I don't wanna cause a family argument anyway. So we gotta leave.
There have been times though when I knew I was gonna be spending, you know, we had $1,000 limit between the two of us. And I knew, you know, once in a while I'd call her and say, have you spent anything on a debit card? No. Okay, good, 'cause I'm gonna buy $600 and some odd dollars and stuff. I wanna make sure we get the room.
Yeah. This doesn't work this way. These are credit cards. So,
So we're gonna change Artie's to.
Artie's to 2,500. Is that agreeable with
Yeah.
everybody? That's what we
Yep.
wanna do. Okay, does somebody wanna make the motion?
I make the motion that we amend resolution 64 to say, give Artie $2,500 on his credit card, the highway superintendent's credit card.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to amend the
second.
limit to 2,500. Am I a second? A second? Any more further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now the initial resolution. We didn't pass that. Do I have somebody that wants to make a motion to enact the credit cards?
So moved.
Okay, Hank, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. You're on. Okay. This is our dog ordinance. This has been a year
Let's do it.
in coming. Has everybody on the board read the resolution?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Kirsten, I got an email with Ron Diver bought me a second one. You had sent one with the resolution, and then he brought me a second one. Are they both the same?
He may have had a couple changes. It looks like this one in here is the right one, so I don't know which one yours is. Ron made 2 changes in our office.
All right, then it's the other one that Ron just brought back to me then. It does have a little, all right,
This one looks like it's the right one, am I wrong? I don't think I have that one with me.
well, I know for, on page 4, the complaints, that was a different, it had something different. That page wasn't exactly the same. I didn't read the whole thing over. But I had given Bill this one. This was the first one that you gave him. This is the one
Do you
here.
have Ron's?
I think I do.
Adopting the new one, subject to.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. If I had known, I would have brought an extra copy of that one.
No, I'm sure I have.
Just be sure we get the right one first. All this time to make sure we got the right one.
Been way long enough, so I just start all over.
This is the one we have here. Okay, this is where I'm looking at. And then this is the one Ron brought me the other day, and it's different on page 4.
Yeah, this is
So
the right
this
one.
is, so there is a different one.
This is the correct one. It was minor points that were changed. I think it's okay to vote on it today.
Well,
Which one do I have in my hand?
you have the first one, and that's not the one that.
There's actually not a difference in the wording, it's just the order to make it clearer, like the headings to make it clearer. So those are minimal changes.
We're okay then.
So she's gonna make a copy for you, so you vote on that one. and
Okay,
I'll be sure
then-
to-
No
I've
further
got the right
change
one in my hand.
necessary.
so this one goes.
Okay.
Not the,
Sure.
not the, she said page 4. Page 4 is the law. Oh, complaints.
Is it the law? Of the law itself. She's
Of the
gonna
law
give you a
itself,
new
not the,
law.
okay, not the motion.
Not the motion, the resolution, whatever, isn't changed.
Resolutions.
You can just take this one and that.
Only one more page.
Hey, are you gonna wanna use it here?
I don't know the difference.
Yeah, bring it up.
That's the one that
You're gonna bring it up, what is it?
Ron just brought me
Oh,
yesterday,
no,
or
sorry. You got a ball off that.
Monday, he brought me that, so that's the one
What was
that,
I doing, Arnie?
You were right.
I see the resolution portion.
the resolution is the same.
Okay.
It's just the dog control local law.
I hate to be a pill, but do we need to have a public hearing on this?
Yes, we do, to amend it. To amend local laws, we need a public hearing.
Okay, do I have somebody that wants to make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
I'll second it.
No?
Hey,
Yes.
that's okay. She was asking a question. She can-
Any further discussion on our dog law? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I guess we're supposed to have a roll call vote on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, wait a minute, I gotta find this. All right, this is the one right here. Okay. Bill,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Hank,
Yes.
and Mr. Novak's not here.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Our dog law passed. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next portion of the meeting is the public comment section. Yes, sir.
The other day, I had a couple friends that came down from Canada, and they came up with something that I had not heard. They claimed that their volunteer fire company will not fight a fire on a building with solar panels on it. Now, I talked to Fritz Trout, and he didn't know about it, but before you go a long ways with it, if that is, there is a fire hazard there, an electrocution hazard. And I think we'd ought to look into that. Now, I haven't seen Chrissy again, but he said, well, you know, it's a little bit like these electric cars. When there's the same danger there. But I think a lot of people that put them on their buildings, they seem to be good things, but if that is gonna be the case, have you ever heard of that, Sean?
Well, I've had heard of instances that, people that put them on their houses, they've actually caught fire and maybe structure it that way, but in this case, I think what the planning board is looking at is maybe the solar farms, to where they're built on the ground.
Well, they are.
Because I'll tell you the reason why, I looked into that too, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want them on my house to start with. Because one of the things is, let's face it, everybody's gonna have to replace a roof at one time or another. You gotta call that company up, have them come back up, remove all these panels, if you can't do it yourself, the contractor that didn't put them on can't touch them. So,
Well, I
I
felt
gotta
that,
tend to agree with you, because there is, I've seen, the battery packs for these solar panels, and I've seen battery packs for wind turbines. Privately owned wind turbines. I got a high respect for electricity, I don't even wanna change the light
You would
socket in
need
my
to.
house. So I would say that there probably is a electrical hazard there.
well, probably people have gotta get a permit to have this, and it seems to me that if this thing is a positive thing, that people ought to be aware of it.
No, I agree
I've
with
never
you.
heard of it any other way.
There there are fire departments that are being trained, to put those fights the fires out or whatever, have an extra training for solar.
I agree with you, it's a good thing to ask the chiefs before we maybe move forward with this thing.
I hold the rest of you off just a minute here. I made a mistake. I failed to pay the bills. Can I have a motion to pay the vouchers?
I make a motion we pay the abstracts.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? One. That was close. Okay, anybody else? Yes.
Paul Goss, Stone Arabia. I just have a question on the ethics committee, if you could verify it. I really didn't understand. Right now, we don't have in place an action that the ethics committee could use for workplace violence and harassment. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
It's the way it sounds to me,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the way I understand it. So I put in a ethics violation complaint back in May, and with the turnover, etc., it takes effect as of June 1st. All right. I have 60 days to get an answer on the workplace and the violence and the harassment on my complaint. Now, after that 60 days, which is August 1st, my complaint is null and void. Is the board going to have a section by the next meeting that they can address my complaint? Or am I going to have to hire a private attorney and sue the town? Because you're leaving me no option here. The ethics board, I was under the impression, would handle every kind of violation that came in, make their recommendation to the board, and then the board takes the action. They're like, you know, and they don't have to investigate it. If somebody makes a claim, they have to submit the proper paperwork with it, show what was done, etc. They're not an investigative unit other than to see if the facts are really there. And then they make it to you people, and you people make the decision, if that's the way I understood it. But I'm running out of time here. I got till August 1st to ascertain my complaint, or I'm going to have to go outside. I definitely don't want to sue the town. That's against every principle I have.
This
But I
is
want
all
an answer
new
for
to
that.
me. I don't mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but are you all set? I
Yeah,
understand your
I'm
question,
good, Bill.
I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
This is all new to me, and my understanding is the same. The ethics board recommends to the town board. Beyond that, I don't know where we go. Maybe Mrs. Dunn can enlighten us.
Can I ask you why you have until August 1st? Because you're saying the 60 days that they,
When I filed a complaint, they would act on it in 60 days.
that, what she just spoke about.
Right. So if they don't make that action in 60 days to the recommendation to the board, where does my complaint go? And they don't even have anything.
They don't
in-
have the ability, I don't know what your complaint is, but they don't have the ability to address your complaint unless it deals with conflicts of interest as defined by that particular law. So if you have a different complaint, probably you want to lodge it with the supervisor or with the town board formally, unless it's dealing with what that law deals with. If it's a true ethics complaint, resubmit it. We had a little bit of confusion because they weren't an official board yet, so I would assume they would give leniency. But if you don't have an ethics complaint dealing with a conflict of interest, that's not under their purview anyway. They can't address it. So without
So what's the
asking the
purpose?
nature.
So what's the purpose of having an ethics board?
Well, so this is why she wanted me to come. Ethics, as defined in the general municipal law, which is a state law, and we're required to fall under all of it, deals with conflicts of interest only. Because otherwise what you have is an appointed board that ends up policing people's actions. And I think you would all agree, given the nature of the scenes that we see in here, that depending on who's on that board, you might get a favorable opinion to your ethics question, or you might not, and it's just going to cause a bigger fight. We have an ethics board that has advisory power, no policing power. We also have a state law that says ethics boards can deal with conflicts of interest. it's not that you have a complaint, it's not that you don't have a complaint about unethical behavior. But this isn't the behavior police. This is a board to deal with conflict of interest. So if you have something that's dealing with a different kind of unethical behavior, there's a difference in the law between what we all agree is unethical behavior versus the conflict of interest. We kind of want a board to go and complain to, but that's not what you're going to get with this board, and it's not ultimately what you want, because you're going to end up having more infighting. So what we mean to do is establish a policy right now where you have a different avenue for those kind of complaints if you're talking about unethical behavior complaints, which I'm assuming you are, but I don't know
Correct.
what your actual complaint is.
So, now I'm really confused.
So I think the avenue for you is probably to take it to Bill at the moment, because we don't have another policy, and we will put in a different kind of, I mean, we'll work hard to work on a harassment policy, although that's more workplace harassment, so I'm not sure what your complaint is. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get into
No,
personal details.
that's fine. No, I'm just, am I gonna run out of time here, or am I gonna be, my question is, with everything that's going on, am I gonna be forced to go outside legal? That's my question. I don't wanna do that, but I'm not gonna let it go. I'm telling the board right now, I am not gonna let it go.
You're not forced by this law to run out of time. You can make your official complaint to the board. It's registered. You may have to go outside. I don't know what your complaint deals with, but you may have to go find other legal help, because if it's dealing with a member of the board, you have the right to sue under our Article 78 proceeding, and that's the only way really to do it if you're trying to get somebody removed. If you have a private action against somebody, then you need a private attorney to file a suit.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
You know where this is going.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make a clarifying remark about the solar law, because I sensed some confusion earlier. We have a law in place, local law number 4 of 2017, which governs what people are and are not allowed to build in the way of solar facilities. And basically it says, if you're putting solar on your own home, attached to your building, you just have the right to do it. You don't need to submit a special application or anything. Obviously, you still have to get a building permit. It has to comply with all the regular building regulations. If you are building a small facility that is freestanding, but you're going to consume the power, you've got to put in a special request for a site permit. But basically, if you comply with the rules, which are height limits and setbacks and things like that, then the town can't stop you from building it. And then if it's a commercial facility, which is what we're talking about now, that's being proposed for Nellis Road, then there's a lengthier application process, and there are more stringent regulations, more setbacks, site plans. You have to put up a bond for decommissioning. But again, if you comply with all of those regulations, then you are authorized to build a solar facility. So that's the law that's in place right now. And for private, attached to the building solar panels, basically they don't have to come to the planning board or anything like that. They just go through Cliff. For a larger facility that you're using yourself, and certainly for a commercial facility, you go through the planning board, but the planning board is really not giving you permission or denying you. It's just making sure that you're following the regulations. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I wish somebody would do some research for me to find out if there have been any injuries or fatalities in regard to what I brought up. I think that's important. And I do understand now what Mark says. And I'm not against putting it on your house, but it's, if it's really hazardous, I think it ought to come to somebody's attention.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.